Ted, in your new book, The Business of Happiness, as I mentioned in my opening comments, I was struck by your reflections on the importance that athletic teams play in building community in a city like Washington. You've now had an opportunity with the Washington Capitals to try to demonstrate that, and it's been an extraordinary achievement over these last few seasons. You're about to step into the NBA. Well, tell us a little bit about how you've come to understand the significance, importance of franchises for the local community.
Well, my sense of community started here at Georgetown, that you're all here in this heat. I know that the class of 1950, 1960 is here. It's truly amazing, and thank you so much for coming back. Whenever I'm in this room, it brings back such great memories, because you'd come here when you were a student and hear unbelievable speakers, and just show you how tight the community and the experience is. I started a couple of years ago a company that was acquired last November by American Express company. And through that experience, I've been asked to join the board of directors of American Express. And I went to my first board meeting, and Dr. Henry Kissinger is a lifelong member of American Express. When I sat across from him, and at lunch I went over and introduced myself, and he went, "Georgetown." And he remembered that he would come and lecture here. Maybe there were a couple of students demonstrating outside, but so I told him it wasn't me. I do think that sports is the ultimate double bottom line business. That on one hand, it's about wins and losses. It's about revenue generation and sponsorship and all the things that you would be focused on trying to build excellence into an organization. But I believe the responsibility of owning a team is much broader than the service that you offer to your players and to your fan base, because the heart and soul of a city is reflected in its sports team. There's a whole section in the newspaper that's dedicated to sports. And I really felt it, because I believe that great enterprises have higher callings. And of course I'd like to win a Stanley Cup. Of course I'd like to win an NBA championship, and we want to sell out all of our games. But our mission is much broader than that. When I was a young man, I'm an only child, and my dad and I were very close, and he would take me to games. And we were Mets and Jets fans growing up, because we couldn't afford Giants and Yankees tickets. And my big Christmas gift was season tickets to the Jets. And I remember when the Jets won the Super Bowl in 1969. And my dad passed away a couple of years ago, 94 years old. And last year, the Jets were playing the Colts in the playoffs. And I was on the treadmill working out, and on the NFL channel, they were showing the Super Bowl from 1969. I was watching it, and I literally had to stop, get off the treadmill, because all of the memories of my growing up with my dad and my childhood, and the feeling that we had of being part of a championship. And I said, that's the business that I'm in. That we're in the business of creating millions and millions of lifelong memories between fathers and sons and mothers and daughters, and tying a community so close together. We'll hear from our next speaker, who's picked up the mantle of doing the same thing for the Georgetown community. Academics are so important, public service is so important, but we see the better the Georgetown men's basketball team does, the higher our spirits are as an alumni base. And so I do believe that we have an unbelievable responsibility I happen to own teams and own all the winter programming now in the greatest city, most powerful city in the country. And my goal is to hold the mirror up to the community that we serve and to build teams and franchises that make everyone proud. And I know when we win championships that we will bond and create a spirit and a set of memories that will last a lifetime for millions and millions of people.
Thank you. John, there are special times of the year where we can kind of break up the normal rhythm of things. When the World Series comes along, we pay attention to baseball in a different way. When the bowl games come along, we pay attention in a different way. There's nothing quite like the month of March. What's the significance of athletics, and particularly basketball, in the national consciousness, the national identity of the United States?
It speaks to what Ted was just saying. You know, it's unbelievable to me, just that the effect that our basketball team can have on the Georgetown community, the effect that athletics, that sports teams can have on their community, on society. And it's everyone has talked about, you know, there's a binding force that athletics has that supersedes race, supersedes socioeconomic status. It brings a group together. And that's, I don't know why, but it gives you something to rally behind. And now tied in with that, there is that responsibility that we have to make you feel proud about us. I saw the movie, and I'm gonna mess up the name, the Invictus, about the South African rugby team, where Nelson Mandela, played by Morgan Freeman, he gets out and he's a man who's put in charge of bringing together an apartheid-torn country. And one of the ways that he realized that could happen is by having a successful sports team, by having the rugby team be the unifying force in that country. And you watch that movie, and I think that just illustrates what the Capitals have done and the Wizards will do here in DC. But it's a rallying cry that people get behind, and it's a responsibility that we have, and it's something that, as the coach of Georgetown, the president asked about the month of March, and that's when the NCAA tournament is, and that's when everyone tunes in to college basketball. Next year, we're going to hang around a little longer than we did this year. But it's so much more than that. It's so much more than Ted talked about holding up the mirror to the community. And we realize, and I realize, that my responsibility as basketball coach here at Georgetown goes so much above and beyond the wins and losses on the court. Now, that's important. It goes so much above and beyond that because we are a unifying force, because good, bad, right, or wrong, so many people, when we are successful, you have a better day. And that's a responsibility. I get a lot of emails, some good, some bad. And everyone can puff out their chest a little bit when they go to work, when we're doing well. And that's something that pulls and ties us together, and it affects. Athletics affects society as a whole because we are drawn together because of it.
I do often say, on that earlier point, I do often say that I am so much smarter, funnier, and better looking when you win basketball games.